Hi friends, welcome to the NPTEL course Strategy and Technology Practical Primer. We are in week 10 with the theme of Technology and Customer Centricity. In this lecture, the 46th in the series, the topic is Customized Product Design. As we are aware, customers are heterogeneous. Therefore, the customer needs are very varied. However, it is not possible to provide an individual product for matching an individual need. Products have to be standardized to some extent. The degree of standardization varies depending upon the company's strategy and the technological capability. But at the same time, product customization is one of the valuable methodologies to enhance customer satisfaction and therefore gain competitive advantage. Product customization and competitive advantage are therefore interlinked. Exponential technological development has contributed in recent years to massive increases in product lines and product counts offered by firms. Companies today typically run hundreds, if not thousands, of store-keeping units. Product variations, that is, SKU multiplicity, do not necessarily mean customization for users. The more personal a product is, the more inappropriate and the more difficult it is to standardize across populations. True customer choice can be achieved with customized product design. However, it requires personalized calibration, digital connectivity, big data analytics, and flexible manufacturing. I would think that customized product design is the next wave of competitive advantage for firms. It requires customer-focused mindsets and digitally enhanced infrastructure. Unfortunately, SKU proliferation that is not strategically planned could end up adding to complexity with variations rather than meeting customer needs of different aspects with meaningful personalized customization. What is product customization? Product customization is to cater to individual customer needs more specifically. Hundreds and even thousands of products cannot give customized experience to millions of customers unless the right drivers for product variation that can cater to clustered groups of customers are identified. The more global a company is, the greater the global population that the company has to meet, and therefore there would be a proliferation of SKUs on a global level. SKUs typically define product variations to meet country and native customer requirements and the country-specific homologation needs. It is therefore tempting to hypothesize that consequent to globalization, there is a huge wave of customization that is sweeping the industrial scenario. But that is not true. Product variations do not necessarily mean customization for users. In fact, they could be leading to such complexity in product development and manufacture that the companies are losing the focus on the right type of customization for the customers. The nature of variations oftentimes tend to be as per design templates rather than customer needs. There are three types of variations that can be conceptualized, and these product variations fall under 5 broad categories. The first 3 categories are more important in terms of category-driven, performance-driven, and price-driven variations. There are also 2 important influences: esteem-driven variation and policy-driven variation. Customer specificity is ensured by a robust SKU system, which is driven by individual customer needs, categorized and standardized across these 5 categories. Let's examine each of these in greater detail. Category-driven variation is exemplified by broad and dominant product configuration. For example, smartphone versus non-smart or feature phone, and sedan versus utility vehicle, or sedan versus a hatchback vehicle. These are specific categories, and customers would like to have products which are tailor-made for those categorized needs. Performance-driven variation, that is exemplified by hardware and software differences, which together set performance differentials between products. There could be a match or a mismatch between category-driven variation and performance-driven variation, in the sense that someone who prefers a hatchback need not necessarily prefer low performance. Someone may have therefore a hatchback that can be driven at high levels of speed. Similarly, someone who drives an SUV need not necessarily aspire for the highest level of performance in terms of power and torque. That person may be happy with a medium range power and torque. So category driven variation and performance driven variation, though they are distinct, could also witness some kind of interconnection and overlap. Then the third is the price driven variation. This is easy to understand apparently, but in terms of actual positioning of a product in respect of the aesthetics as well as performance, it is very complex to understand. We can have specifications driven costs and brand driven premiums, but the combination of these two factors to arrive at the right price points for different consumers is a challenge. Therefore, price driven variation is not merely obtained from category driven variation and or performance driven variation. It requires an additional judgment and analytical methodology. The other two are influences: esteem driven variation, that is reflective of product market niches that are created by companies. Owning a Mercedes-Benz car is an esteem driven variation. Owning an Ultra phone is an esteem driven variation. Policy driven variations are the outcomes of the influence of regulatory policy on product design. The preference for 660cc mini cars in Japan or sub 4 meter cars in India, which qualify for lower excise duty, reflect that category. The variations are explained not merely by market but also by product, operations, marketing and policy. Firms need to plan their customization strategies based on the above 5 levers that are available to the business strategists. But is customer choice a mirage? The interests of the consumer and the corporation are conceptually aligned, but in practice they tend to be misaligned. We have in a retail textile stores hundreds of apparel on stock. These are however designed with certain standard sizes and ruling fashions in mind. In fact, factory production ipso facto tends to promote standardization and reduce customization in any field. Reverting to the example of apparel, decades ago, when there used to be no ready-made apparel, tailoring represented the only and complete form of dress development, and this was truly customized to the individual. The individual would buy the kind of cloth he or she appreciates, would go to the tailor and get it stitched the way he or she would want to have. Therefore, the earlier paradigm was one of consumer having the choice of selecting a cloth and getting it tailored to his or her measurements and stylistic requirements. But when the formal sector took over and when factory production started appearing, standardization was the requirement. So the current paradigm has evolved into mass production of multiple designs. However, this does not translate itself into real customer choice, because what you have is a choice between small, medium, L and XL, and in some cases double XL. And if these apparel do not fit you, you need to alter them, and not all retail stores have the ability to alter to your satisfaction. And real customization of this standardized product may mean a complete restitching of the product itself, thus defeating the very purpose of standardization and taking a ready-made apparel. Probably the right phraseology for the current scenario is product choice rather than customer choice. What the companies are providing is product choice, that is, choice amongst different products rather than provision of products to meet the customer choice. Customer choice is a paradigm. Mass production in factories provides several other advantages of quality in design, manufacture and delivery, use of superior material and methods, reliability and adoption of global trends. There is no doubt about this, but that doesn't automatically provide customer choice. Henry Ford's assembly line manufacture of a standardized car in a single color in the 1910s represented such an extreme of industrialization, while General Motors' competing strategy of differentiation was an alternative approach. In contemporary times, Apple represents the Ford of smartphones with not more than a couple of products in each product line, while Samsung with dozens of smartphones represents an amplified version of General Motors in smartphones. Customer choice, however, is not a matter of numbers either. There need not necessarily be proportionality between SKUs and customer choice. What is demographically and ergonomically optimal in one geography need not necessarily be so in other geographies, because the nature of the individuals, the personalities, the physical personalities as well as the emotional personalities vary across the geographies, and even within a country which is as large as India, the variations are humongous. In fact, the more personal a product is, like apparel, smartphone, automobile, etc., the more inappropriate and the more difficult it is to standardize across populations in various nations and states. But these continue to get bought because there is no other choice that is available in the current industrial paradigm. Ideal customer choice occurs when a customer can secure a product that exactly meets his or her expectations on all specifications and at all price points. This is an awakening that is occurring slowly but surely, even in some of the most strident category manufacturers. When you look at Mercedes-Benz and Audi, who are decidedly the upper-end luxury vehicle manufacturers, the movement is now towards categories B and A class cars. They are also moving towards compact SUVs. This movement, in a way, within quotes downwards, provides their much wanted luxury specifications across all categories and price points. This is a movement towards making their product strengths cater to customer choices in a little more expansive way. Becoming a full-length, multi-line manufacturer is commonly seen as the solution to providing customer choice. Probably this is a beginning and still not a full resolution of the trend. The concept of full-line manufacturing as it exists today is one of positioning products at different price points, probably at different specification points as well. But this almost inevitably translates into having a range of products from low spec to high spec, and in some cases mixed spec, rather than providing customer choice in a genuine manner. True customer choice evolves when the design of a product is weaved around the actual consumer needs, and that should be done in a very open and flexible mix and match approach. Dell, the computer maker, was long seen to be a leader in customers designing their computers by selecting the configuration of choice. Even the Dell model is not representative of true customer choice. Changing the processor, adding RAM capacity or battery power, or providing operating system options and accessory choices are more in the nature of trade-offs between features and prices rather than product redefinition. And also, in the new marketing paradigm, the so-called low-cost option, which is the base option, is not really utilitarian, doesn't meet all the functionalities. People, when they add these kinds of additional functionalities, they only reach minimum common point or minimum common level for what they should be having. When low-cost airliners offer the seat configurations, baggage check-in facilities, the food facilities as additional, they are not doing a favor to the consumer. In fact, they have taken those things away from the basic service and projected a low-cost, ultra-basic service and kept on adding these things to arrive at the basic service. The real customer choice obviously is far beyond this. True product definition would occur if a customer can, in the case of Dell for example, mix and match the specifications of Inspiron, Latitude and XPS models as well as those of laptop, ultrabook and tablet. And these three product types I have mentioned are completely different in terms of their design language, in terms of their purposes, and in terms of the overall weight and price characteristics. Somebody may like to have a laptop which is of XPS type, but somebody else could have an ultrabook which is of Latitude type. It is not appropriate to say that all laptops for budget are of Inspiron type, all business laptops are of Latitude type, and all gaming laptops are of XPS type. That doesn't really give choice. Similar is the case with automobile manufacturers who try to customize marginally based on powertrain options or interior trim. Even the much talked about truck makers' modular platforms may not fully meet the customer requirements in terms of aspects beyond power and torque or the load carrying capability. the day when a hatchback can be grown proportionally into a compact utility vehicle at customer's choice is probably still decades away, even globally. Ironically, even service industries, which are not manufacturing oriented and therefore should be better placed for flexibility, find it difficult to offer multiple services in a flexible format. So, product choice exists but not customer choice, even in today's contemporary world. So, how do we get to this paradigm of customized product design? I offer some examples, and these obviously can be built into full-scale models when we apply more attention and more analytical capabilities to the factory system. The challenge in achieving true customer choice lies in combining the benefits of mass factory production with the rigor of fulfilling individual customer choice. That is, mass factory production, the ability to turn out the same product second after second or minute after minute, must be combined with the millions of customers wanting a product which meets their individual requirements. These are two polarities of the design and manufacturing as well as selling and marketing system. Reverting to the example of ready-made apparel, there could be two ways by which the manufacturer can achieve customized service, as explained below. Let us consider an example of ready-made apparel where there could be two ways by which the manufacturer can achieve customized service. One, by having a digital measurement system in each retail shop that can be linked to a central factory with flexible tailoring system. Two, by taking the measurements of each individual customer and communicating them to the central factory along with the requisite cloth and style codes through the company information technology system. When these two approaches are combined, the retail shop can provide custom stitched yet factory made apparel to the customer, rather than try to force fit or retailer the available options at the retail store. This also leads over time to the building up of a massive database of thousands of people measurements, why thousands, even millions of people measurements, and development of a more customized size and style classification that could combine the advantages of studio design and factory production with the benefits of custom tailoring for the customer. Over a few months, the database would greatly expand and provide a competitive advantage to the apparel manufacturer relative to others. This could also be combined with the fashion statements of the apparel, understanding the likes, dislikes, etc. So how do we do this? We can do this to any sector, but let's again look at the product. We require apparel which exactly meets the personal needs. So we need to understand the personal needs. Then we should measure and calibrate individual diversities. You should conduct business data analytics based on the database that you have developed. You should have flexible manufacturing and delivery systems. And then these must be primed further by machine learning and artificial intelligence. When this is started for the first time, obviously the number of measurements that are available are probably in few thousands, and it may have a lead time in terms of providing that kind of personalized apparel. But over a period of time, when thousands and lakhs of measurements become available, a cycle gets established by which not merely the current SML extra large kind of things, but finely and minutely categorized apparel will be made available in the stores, because the data that gets generated in terms of the requirement pattern, choice patterns, and the demand pattern in the overall will be already in the database in respect of the geographic location and the amplitude of demand. When you look at the smartphones too, we can have this kind of approach. Given the lead time of 6 months in designing and manufacturing a smartphone, the smartphone makers can encourage customers to pre-book their phone requirements by taking a measurement of the buyer's hand and an inventory of his or her choices in terms of screen size, screen type, pixel resolution, onboard memory, microcard memory, processor speed, operating system, camera pixels, flash type, battery power, and build type, to quote a few. This customer database can facilitate the design of a truly ergonomic and operationally customized smartphone. When you introduce a new series of phone, let's say Galaxy S21 or Apple 13, the next step should be to invite the customers back into the stores and to feed this kind of data so that the next iteration of the phone would truly reflect the customer's requirement. Like with apparel, as the company builds up a database of millions of customer profiles, smartphones can be smartly rather than presumptively designed for the widest possible focused fulfillment. This approach can be leveraged for any product or service with appropriate systems for data capture and analysis to move towards mass customization. The ultimate goal is mass customization. All of this requires certain mindsets and certain competencies. The proposed paradigm in this lecture makes the customers the product designers by enabling them convert their individual experiences, thoughts, and desires into millions of specifications, which can be sifted through using high-speed information processing technologies to develop arrays and histograms of customer choices. But this requires a mindshift change. Corporations must start thinking that they are at the service of customers, not by giving products, but by understanding their needs. Customers also must change their passive approaches for the paradigm to be successful. The mindshift changes are as follows. For corporations, must resolve to understand and fulfill customer requirements firsthand by asking intelligent questions, provide meaningful options, and redeem the customer hopes with products that are much better customized than they are today. And as far as customers are concerned, they must be more discerning, more responsive, and more responsible. They must be demanding but also be patient. To enable this initiative take root and expand to achieve widespread awareness and self-sustaining capability, corporations could do well to form customer clubs, which can become the nuclei of customer creativity and design enablement. As Royal Enfield decided to reposition the product as a high-end product, it created customer communities of loyal Enfield users, started understanding what else they would like to have this Enfield product, and provided those embellishments, those bells and whistles, and those improvements, making Enfield much more customized than it was at any point of time in the past. Another aspect of the mindset and competencies is that companies should have the ability to successfully pilot the customized product design initiative and institutionalize the customer integration. Companies need to identify and establish the essential organizational infrastructure that is required to connect the customer to the corporation. As with the apparel company, it could just be the ubiquitous tailor for taking measurements of customers in the apparel retail stores, supplemented by style manuals or style portals. As with the smartphone company, it could be technology-driven palm scanning and product design kiosks in the phone retail stores. At the central level, it would be a very strong information technology backbone that connects all the primary data collection hubs in the country with a powerful central server system, coupled with a high-speed algorithmic processing and machine learning system with data analytics capability. Organizational design must therefore provide for structures and processes that enable continuous interactions between the market and product design divisions of the company. Talent that is technology savvy and customer friendly as well as analytical would be essential. Customized product design (CPD) as proposed in this lecture would be the next wave of competitive advantage for corporations when it is backed by appropriate customer focused mindsets and digitally enhanced infrastructures. And as we think of sensors, as we think of more measurement and imaging systems, what can be done could be limitless. What the tailor does in terms of specific measurements can be done much more accurately by digital profiling of a customer. So opportunities are limitless. So we'll have a case study. This is about Google. Billions of data bits are being organized by Google to provide an answer that is personalized. And the answers are so many. The more specific your question is, the more personalized will be the information that you would get. You may ask a very bland question and you may be finding a needle in the haystack. You may not be able to find it at all. On the other hand, you have a very well-defined question. You may have information that is much more suitable for your requirements. How does that happen? By having a search engine that is customized. Google is a technology giant. In 1998, it was founded. It has become a subsidiary of the holding company Alphabet in 2015. Founders are Larry Page and Sergey Brin. It is headquartered in California, USA, with revenue of $182 billion. To move within a matter of this many years to reach this multi-billion dollar sales status is not a common feat, and it has led the technology revolution in the world. Net income is $40.27 billion. Type of the company is subsidiary of Alphabet Inc. and it employs close to 140,000 across the globe. It doesn't have any manufacturing plant at all. Its market capitalization is $2 trillion. The products are web-based products, developer tools, operating systems, desktop applications, mobile applications, and hardware. When it started, it had nothing but search. But today, these are all the product choices, service choices that Google offers. To be able to do that, Google had one engine performing to the highest level of optimality. That is the innovation engine. And for that, Google had 8 principles of innovation that were applied within the Google system. The first principle, think 10x. True innovation happens when you try to improve something by 10 times rather than just by 10%. 10% is a commonly understood increment. Everybody would like to increase the sales by 10% rather than by 100%. But thinking 10x could maybe a game-changing aspiration for a company. Second principle, launch then keep listening. Google listens to user feedbacks carefully after each launch and revises products based on whatever they hear. Point number 3 or principle number 3, share everything you can. Google believes in collaboration within the company and between the company and its customers to innovate, and that innovation happens best when you share openly information. Fourth one, hire the right people. Ever since the first hire, Google worked hard to attract people who want to tackle big problems that matter. Our own Sundar Pichai joining Google is a reflection of Google taking the brightest of minds from wherever they are available and elevating them to the most vaulted positions in the company based on innovation, creativity, and performance. The fifth principle is focus on users, not the competition. Google believes that if they focus on users, everything else will follow. If they can build a robust and loyal base of people who love what they do, Google believes that it could be rare and valuable in terms of the final output. Google believes in data, not options. So the principle number 6 is that data usually beats options. So in Google, data is a big part of every choice they make. In fact, Google has brought data and information to the computer step of every individual, to the laptop of every individual, to the mobile phone of every individual, and the customer is therefore feeling the impact of democratization of data all across the world. Principle number 7, look for ideas everywhere. Google believes that great ideas are found anywhere and they keep looking for them everywhere. Principle number 8, use the 70-20-10 model. It just means 70% of the products and projects are dedicated to core business, 20% of the projects are related to core business, and 10% of the projects are completely unrelated to core business. This is typical of the multi-horizon strategy that I have outlined of established products, emerging products, and futuristic products, or established businesses, emerging businesses, and futuristic businesses. The 8 pillars of innovation are the following. The greatest innovations are the ones we take for granted, like light bulbs, refrigeration, and penicillin. But in a world where the miraculous very quickly becomes commonplace, that is, the technology of the highest order becomes commoditized, how can a company, especially one as big as Google, maintain a spirit of innovation year after year? There are 4 principles again here. Think big but start small. Google Books idea was received as a crazy idea by people, but he went ahead and bought a scanner and hooked it to his office. He began scanning pages, timed how long it took with a metronome, ran the numbers and realized it would be possible to bring the world's book array online. Today, Google's book search index contains over 10 million books. Have a mission that matters. In times of crisis, Google helped the society by organizing life-saving information and making it readily available. The dedicated Google employees who launched the Person Finder tool within 2 hours of the earthquake and tsunami in Japan were a wonderful recent example of Google's commitment to use technology to serve the world. The third pillar, strive for continuous innovation, not instant perfection. The first version of AdWords, released in 1999, the advertising engine, wasn't very successful. Almost no one clicked on the ads. Not many people appreciate that Google kept iterating and eventually reached the model they have today. AdWords today is the primary tool for digital marketers. Look for ideas everywhere. Some of the best ideas at Google are sparked just like that, when small groups of Google employees take a break on a random afternoon and start talking about things that excite them. The Google Art Project, which brought thousands of museum works online, and successful AdWords features like automated rules, are great examples of projects that started out in Google's micro kitchens. The other principle, the fifth one, share everything. By sharing everything, Google encourages discussion, exchange, and reinterpretation of ideas. And such collaboration based on information exchange can lead to unexpected and innovative outcomes. The idea for language translation in Google Talk, Google's Gmail chat client, came out of conversations between the Google Talk and Google Translate teams when they happened to be working near one another. The other phrase that fires Google is spark with imagination, fuel with data. Google recruits employees who believe that the impossible can become a reality one day or the other. Sebastian Thrun co-founded Waymo, which operates commercial self-driving taxi services. He is an example, or that business itself is an example. Google has pioneered the way for technology companies to lead the autonomous transformation for the automobile industry. Google Earth, it is another principle that Google should be a company of platforms which everybody on earth can use. Google believes in the power of open technologies. Google Earth, for example, allows developers to build layers on top of Google Maps and share them with the world. One user created a layer that uses animation of real-time sensor data to illustrate what might happen if sea levels rose from 1 to 100 meters. And the most important principle or pillar, never fail to fail. People tend to remember hits more than misses. Google is known for YouTube and not Google Video Player. Google Video Player failed, but YouTube succeeded. Google believes in the philosophy that it's okay to fail as long as you learn from your mistakes and correct them fast. One of the important adages, mistakes are made because we are all human, but mistakes are made to be corrected, to learn from the mistakes and not to repeat the mistakes. Google did exactly that. It did commit mistakes, but it learned from the mistakes and ensured that it succeeded enormously the next round. Google is a brand now. It is a world brand. When Google CEO Larry Page created a new holding company called Alphabet in 2015, initiatives such as self-driving cars and health tech got divvied up into the new companies, and Google became an Alphabet division with a sharper focus on internet services and software. This is again a global corporate strategy that a fast-growing company adopts, particularly when it has a multi-horizon business strategy. Google has been a leader in web search and other web services since its launch in 1998. It is now 23 years old in this business, or 23 years young in this business. It is also a leader in consumer software and hardware experiences. These are powered by its software, artificial intelligence, and device expertise. The Pixel series of smartphones and the Google Home smart speaker Nest reflect the maturation of Google's hardware business. delivering aesthetically pleasing, cheery devices that take full advantage of Google services. Google's Pixel is far ahead of the earlier generation of phones it had, Nexus. The early generation Pixel allowed for advanced control of the phone. It used voice commands and exclusive call screen feature that required callers to state their reasons for calling before making the connection. This was an innovative idea and a welcome convenience because phone spam kept on proliferating in the world. For all the areas where Google is a leader, there are plenty of other markets it covets. In 2016, it centralized its hardware operations and launched its most ambitious line of devices to date, including the Pixel phone, Google Home smart speaker, Daydream U VR headset, and Google Wi-Fi wireless networking system. So Google thus achieved a tremendous transformation from being only an internet company to a giant which is in internet as well as internet-based devices. Google's nascent Tango project aims to measure physical space without the need for GPS or other external signals, putting all the technology inside a mobile device such as a phone or tablet. These projects may look far-flung, but Google wants to compete with everybody and even with itself. The overarching idea is to tie everything together via the company's areas of expertise, particularly in artificial intelligence, which powers the new Alexa-like Google Assistant service. One virtuosity builds on several other past performances and leads to several other virtuosities as the company develops. Google is also looking at new design language. Once upon a time, Google was not so good at design. The company lacked serious industrial design program, but in 2014, Google revealed a unified approach to design to help fix it all, which is called material design. It reimagined all Google's apps with a new visual metaphor of digital paper and ink, but the problem was that the language didn't leave much room for expression and creativity. After toiling away with how to fix this issue for years, the company came up with its release of Android 12. With this, it will launch the evolution of material design, dubbed Material U. Material U preserves the generous white space and visual simplicity which you are used to with material design, but it is filled with more dynamic animations and it is less reliant on a strict icon and interface grid. Most of all, the new Android will be easily customizable. We should think of Material U as a coded Google design consultant, but the user is still the creative director. If you look at the alarm of Google through the Android system it deploys, it is no longer the same standardized font. It comes in big bold letters because it recognizes that when a person wakes up, the person's intention or the tendency is to check the time. And when the person checks the time, if the font is too small to be read, for a bleary-eyed individual, the whole purpose is lost. So you can see a bright, large font looking at you when you look at the phone immediately after waking up based on the alarm. These are the minor tweaks that could look minor but actually are very impactful in terms of your connectivity with the design, because the customer or the user and the company is sharing the same customer perspective, and the design language reflects that customer perspective. So Google has an ecosystem that is of innovation. There are 4 clusters of entities in this ecosystem. The first, consumers. 132 million unique visitors per day, 6.9 billion searches per day as of 2020. They search for information, they reveal their interests. Consume targeted advertising, validate appeal and test performance and marketing of innovations, contribute ideas for improvements and become new products commercial users. The second set, innovators, mashup creators, independent software vendors, Google engineers, open source community. Together they make up a diverse product development network. They develop new offerings that help keep consumers engaged and keep Google sticky. They generate revenue for themselves and for Google, extend value of Google's tools and technology. The third, advertisers. Over 1 million companies and individuals advertising on Google platform. Deliver relevant ad content to search identified users. Generate vast revenue stream that supports Google. help monetize innovators' new offerings. And finally, content providers, media companies, individuals, create information, stimulate consumer interest, foster community, provide delivery mechanism for targeted ads. As with everything, there is always excess that follows innovation. How much of an individual's desire be taken by the company to impinge the customer with more ads? Suppose you search Harvard Business Review for leadership in tough times. Very soon you will find your Google Discover platform flooding itself with similar kind of articles. So it's an impingement on privacy. What you wanted to search, you search. There could be a full stop unless you really asked for that. However, without asking, you have push notifications or push stories that happen. So is it not a violation of your valued time as also your valued privacy? It's a question mark. For that, there is no clear answer, as it benefits in most cases, but it also harms in certain cases. Then we also have the advertising philosophy that makes at times the entire search mechanism very clumsy and cluttered. And if you want to have a clutter-free experience, you got to pay for that. It may be a nice business strategy to make you graduate from free to premium service being paid service. But again, is it only technology or it is commercialized technology? Questions could be there in that manner. But then overall, the innovation ecosystem has helped the company develop new tools, new methodologies, and new methods of serving the customer. But for Google, we wouldn't be answering many questions for ourselves and for the world. The financials of Alphabet have always been rising, despite the investments it makes in so many other areas which are in the futuristic space and which entail only investments and no revenues. Thank you for your attention. We'll meet in the next lecture.